Most people think their biggest problem is lack of discipline, lack of motivation, lack of opportunity. But the truth is far more uncomfortable. Your environment might be silently working against you, not attacking you, not stopping you, just slowly shaping you into someone weaker than you're meant to be. And here's what makes it dangerous. You don't feel it happening because environment doesn't force change. It normalizes it. Romans 12:2 says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Notice that word conform. Not attacked, not destroyed, conformed. That means the greatest threat to your life is not pressure. It's subtle influence. Today I'm going to show you 7 signs your environment is weakening you. And if you ignore these, you won't just stay stuck. You'll slowly lose the version of yourself God is trying to build. Stay with me, because the last one is the one most people never see coming. Number 1, you're constantly distracted, but rarely fulfilled. You're busy all day, scrolling, watching, listening, reacting, but at the end of the day, you feel empty. Not tired from purpose, tired from noise. Most people think distraction is harmless, but the truth is, distraction is direction. Whatever holds your attention shapes your life. If your environment feeds you constant stimulation without depth, your mind loses the ability to focus on what actually matters. And here's what most people miss. You don't lose your purpose overnight. You drift away from it, one distraction at a time. Number 2, your standards are slowly lowering. Not dramatically, not obviously, subtly. Things that once bothered you don't anymore. Conversations you once avoided, you now participate in. Habits you once questioned, you now justify. This is how environment works. It doesn't force you to change your values. It just surrounds you with people and influences that make lowering them feel normal. 1 Corinthians 15:33 says, "Bad company corrupts good character. Not might corrupt, not could corrupt, corrupts." And here's the dangerous part. You won't feel like you're becoming worse. You'll feel like you're just becoming more relaxed. But in reality, you're becoming more vulnerable. Number 3, you feel drained after being around certain people. Pay attention to this one. Because energy doesn't lie. You can fake smiles. You can ignore red flags. You can justify behavior. But your spirit knows. If every time you leave a conversation you feel heavier, less clear, less motivated, more confused, that's not random. That's influence. Because environments don't just affect your actions. They affect your internal state. And here's what most people miss. You don't need people to attack you to weaken you. They just need access. Number 4, you're losing clarity about who you are. This one is subtle, but powerful. You start second-guessing things you were once sure about. Your boundaries feel unclear. Your decisions feel shaky. Your identity feels flexible. At first, it feels like growth, like you're keeping an open mind. But there's a difference between growth when in confusion. James 1:8 says, "A double-minded person is unstable in all their ways." When your environment constantly feeds you mixed signals, your mind becomes divided. And a divided mind cannot move with power. Number 5, you feel pressure to fit in rather than stand firm. You don't want conflict. You don't want tension. You don't want to seem different, so you adjust, not completely, just enough to blend in. And here's the trap. You tell yourself it's not a big deal. But every time you shrink your convictions to match your environment, you weaken your identity. Romans 12:2 doesn't say, try not to conform too much. It says, do not conform. Because God knows something we often ignore. What you tolerate repeatedly, you eventually become. Number 6, your growth has slowed, but you can't explain why. You're not doing anything obviously wrong. You're still trying, still showing up, still thinking about improving. But nothing is moving. You feel stuck. This is one of the clearest signs your environment is limiting you. Because growth isn't just about effort, it's about exposure. If you're surrounded by low standards, low discipline, low thinking, your growth has a ceiling. And here's what most people miss. You can't build a strong life in a weak environment. Eventually, the environment wins. Number 7, you feel comfortable, but not aligned. This is the most dangerous one, because comfort feels safe. Everything is familiar, predictable, easy, but deep down, something feels off. You know you're capable of more. You feel called to more, but your environment keeps you small. And here's the truth most people avoid. Comfort is not always a blessing. Sometimes it's a cage, because growth requires friction, challenge, stretching. If your environment never challenges you, it's not protecting you, it's limiting you. So what does all this mean? Does it mean you cut everyone off? Change everything overnight? Run away from your life? No, it means you become aware. Because awareness is the beginning of transformation. Romans 12:2 doesn't just say, do not conform. It gives the solution. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That means you don't just escape bad environments. You build internal strength so you're no longer shaped by them. But here's the key most people miss. You cannot renew your mind while constantly feeding it the same environment that weakened it in the first place. Something has to change. Your inputs, your circle, your boundaries. Because your life will always move in the direction of your environment. Let me leave you with this. You are not weak, but you can be weakened. Not by force, not by failure, but by influence. And the moment you recognize that, you stop blaming yourself for everything, and you start taking responsibility for what you allow around you. Because the version of you that God is building requires a different environment. Stronger, clearer, more intentional. So here's the question. Which of these signs did you recognize in your life? Don't overthink it. Just type one word in the comments, aware. Because awareness is where change begins. And once you see it, you can't unsee it.